or a simple lesson, really. And Lisa and I were just having a chat. You know, she said, you added a lot to that. That's not in the transcript. Huh? I didn't actually add many movements that weren't in the transcript. The beginning movement I did, the one I added about doing your pelvic tilt toward the side, just for hopefully to, again, even if you didn't get it, that you could get that idea that as soon as the pelvis goes off to one side, everything has to adapt differently. Shoulders have to do something different, knees, hips, feet. That I can't still try and make it into a symmetrical movement. Something has to bias, just like this, or this biases. The whole system is going to have to adapt. And the other thing I said to Lisa is that, you know, at this stage in the training, when you go through the transcripts, Feldenkrais wasn't that interested in them becoming ATM teachers at that moment. You can see he's very much coming from this idea of if you can feel it on yourself, you can teach it. Yeah, and if you stay in quality enough, something will emerge that this will make sense. The thing is, for many of us, we're still developing that ability to discriminate, to really feel the very fine changes that he's asking for. So, let's get you, Trish. Okay, so bend your right knee, Trish, and that's it. So as soon as Trish bends her left leg, go down again, put it down. Where's the pelvis gone? Backwards. So pelvis is already rolled backwards just to get into that position. So let it roll backwards, Trish. And now start to lift your leg, and she's going to roll back. Her tendency would be to roll back even more, to counterbalance a little bit more. So do that. Let that happen, Trish. Yeah? And now start to straighten your legs. So you can see this is a principle Feldenkrais uses all the time. This is no longer over her base of support. Yeah? Her torso is outside her base of support, which is her pelvis and her right leg. Does that make sense? You all will understand what base of support is? That means that this all has to be working to support her in space. Okay, but as soon as she gets the idea that she can lift her leg and this goes forward, all of this is over her base of support. So all of that habitual work she does in weight bearing gets a chance to give up. So this is basic biomechanics, and he uses it all the time. As soon as I don't have the big part of me over my base of support, I have to be working. So I'm already in my habit. I don't have a chance to feel the things that can give up. That doesn't mean that you still can't learn a lot in the ATM. But you're not going to have the opportunity to learn as much as you could. So you go down onto your back now, Trish, because for a lot of you it was much easier coming up from your back and bend your knee. And here she understands, but because she can't move backwards. The floor is an absolute constraint to letting her go too much into rolling herself backwards. So can you see why he might start here as a start with the movement? No. And then start to come up to the side there. Ish. Yeah. And you can see her weight's always coming forward to do that. And then come up to sitting again. Yeah, and now come all the way around, Trish, with your legs standing. We're back in the sitting position now. Yeah? And you can see already she's further forward after doing that. Huh? So now, if you bench your leg a little bit, can you feel you don't have to be as, yeah, she can stay much more forward. Huh? So these are things that, you know, Lisa and I constantly are saying, could he just not have put this down for us? You know? But he wants you to discover it yourself. But I've also learned over time that if you can just keep coming back to these main principles, you can really make much more sense. So, you know, a little bit later, he talks about why he starts with the left leg. So it's his little theory that most people stand on their right leg more than their left leg because most people tend to be right-sided dominant. So if I start with this leg knows how, so this has already got more opportunity to give up its work. It's more used to giving up its work. It's more used to the right side taking the weight. So that then maybe I can eventually feel that, oh, I can let the weight come on to the right and still be really soft. And I know I've talked to you about this before. It's this whole principle of what he's doing. As soon as you get into weight bearing, your muscles have to be working more. So how do you set it up that we can still give people an experience of giving up some of their habitual work? So that at the end, how many of you didn't feel a pretty big difference between your two sides? And how would you describe it? You didn't feel, no? How would you describe it? What did you feel? Those of you who did feel a difference. Spread more. Yeah, so that tells you something about your weight. So maybe, yeah, so what if you stood up, Jonah? These are the things you're interested in as a practitioner. Go back to where your toes don't spread. Yeah, what's working hard to get you there that your toes don't spread? Yeah, and then what do you do to let them spread again? So you can see it's a whole organisation that happens. And that's what you can be interested in a little bit at the end of a lesson. Oh, I feel my ribs softer or something's different here. Okay, so this side's to tell you maybe more what it's normally like if you've got that really big difference. So what's happened? How can I use that to really investigate what's different? Yeah. Now you've really got something you can explore. Huh? Does that make sense? Because you've now got a sensation. So you haven't just left it as, oh, well, my toes feel more spread. So what were you doing that your toes weren't spread? How could you feel that all the way through you? There's a talk that he does in here that goes on and on, so I'm not going to. But the transcripts are there, and he's talking about reflexology, polarity, acupuncture. What are some more things that, he's talking about, the ear and the foot, and there's all of these things out there. And, he's trying to get through the sense that how functional integration is different is that we absolutely understand that one thing tells you about everything. Yeah? So where I take my weight on my feet is absolutely going to determine everything that's happening through me. Yeah? How I hold my shoulder is a pattern. It tells me everything that's happening in me. And that's where, you know, that ability to really just begin to pull out for yourself. What is it? It's different. What happens, just like Trish did, when my weight is over my base of support? What a relief. Yeah? So, Trish, if we just got you to do, just because I want you to really see the difference, do the first one again where you were rolling back a little bit. So you're just straightening your leg, but you were rolling back. Yeah, and just do that a few times. Yeah? And can you see there's some effort going on in her neck? She's having to hold. Can you feel that, Trish? Yeah. Yeah. Have a stand up. So she was sort of counterbalancing there, if you like. How does that feel? Where's your weight? Yeah? Huh? Come back. And now do it the other way where your weight's moving forward over. Yeah. That's it. So your weight's moving forward, and you can do a few of the clocks if you want. Yeah, where your heel went one way and you, and look, because the weight's forward, how much automatically she can do through her torso. Can you feel the difference? Purely because her weight is over her base of support. Yeah. And see how now she can transfer the weight easily onto her left. So she's learning now that the weight can come onto my left, and I can still have a stand now, Trish. Yeah. It's on your left. So these are sort of the principles, he's just putting in there over and over again. And then he's just trying to get you to understand them in a million different positions. Yeah, so what would you do? You'd go to where they want to take weight first, wouldn't you? Yeah, if they wanted, because they don't want to take weight on this side, and you say, can I get this softer? Because if they're really here and this can begin to get even a little bit softer, they're shifting their weight in a different way on this right leg that's working way too hard anyway. Yeah. And then you see if that works. That's what you're doing all the time, you know? Is this working for them? Yeah. Yeah, she was. She was interested. Yeah, the first time, because her neck, it was really, yeah. And as I said, to me, and this is just my impression, Feldenkrais is really expecting people to make those distinctions on their own. And in my experience, depending on the current level of your kinesthetic sense, maybe you don't feel to that. Yeah? That, you know, maybe, and this is with a lot of our clients too, you know, that maybe they're doing this and they're straightening their leg and they really can't feel that that is actually harder than that because they're not used to feeling this softness in their chest. Yeah? So they're doing that and they're doing that and they're doing that and they're doing that. So they're going, no, I don't feel any difference. Because even when they're bringing their weight forward, they haven't yet got the sense that that gives me the opportunity to find this softness in my system.
when I could see the difference in you and how all right, how comfortable you were shifting the weight across your hip joints and your pelvis. So that really.
And you know, that's why, as I said, I've really, really encouraged, you know, what Feldenkrais does a lot in Amherst is he gets people to look at each other all the time and then says, but don't copy. You know, you've got to find your own way, you know, feel your way, and that can get in your way of you sensing. And, you know, as he keeps saying, the biggest thing that gets in your way is once you've achieved it. Because then you just go, I've got it now, rather than how do I keep refining this? How do I keep bringing it to make it easier? And that's what we're trying to get with our clients. How do we interest them in that it could be even easier to do this? It could be even more comfortable to do this. You've got to this level, but there's more that you can go. Because otherwise they can just get a little bit caught in the movement.
I've got it. That connection thing you're talking about came home to me really strongly when I got an FI with Stephanie, and I asked her to work on here, and she did most of the work on my foot. Like, seriously. And when I finished, I'm like, what the right? Like, seriously. Like, but when I was walking around and when she came back later, like I could start feeling a loosening up, but it wasn't until well after. And I said, what's with the foot? Right? Like, she's going, well, your foot's all... She said, I don't even know what was happening with it. There was so much happening there. And she said, can't you feel it?
No.
The centre of my foot, well, kind of no, because it's all twisted up, thanks. But the centre of my foot was pushing on my thorax. When I straightened, and I'm sitting there going, this is not possible. She's going, can't you find it? As I straightened my foot out, and this part of my foot straightened, I could feel it.
I got longer.
In the middle of my back. And directly, it was like there was a line going from that up my spine into that point. It was like, no, this can't be real.
And
like,
it's, you know, remember that whole thing that he did on with the head circles, and there was that idea that wherever the callus is on my foot, there my head won't be free.
Almost gone.
But really, it's exactly this, and that's why he's saying with reflexology, well, if someone's going to play around with your foot there enough and lengthen it up, is it the reflexology? Is it the meridian or is it that you've given someone an option that they can be, their foot's more available to shift its weight? But it's not just about mobilising the foot, it's about putting a connection through, which is what Stephanie would have been doing.
Yeah. But the whole time I'm thinking shoulder, back. Shoulder,
that's my problem.
Back. And she'd come up, touch it, and then go back to my foot. It's like, really? But afterwards. So since then I've been obsessed with...
another part. Okay, now we can get a bigger picture again, maybe.
But just watching the changes, working on someone with their heel.
Well, how many habits are we going to have about the way we put our feet on the floor?
Not enough. It's quite amazing how much overlap is between meridians and the actual reflexology points. And what you just were describing, lots of areas, like what Glenn was saying, they actually correspond to the chest, they correspond to the back. So it's actually not contradicting itself.
Never. It makes sense. If I've got a tight foot and I'm always going to be on my toes, my chest is going to be tight.
And like the front of the foot, the ball of the foot is the chest area.
Yeah.
So that's the overlap in the different.
And that's what, so that's what he's saying. He's studied all of them. It's not that he just read about these. He went into them in great detail. He did reflexology. He did all of them. Acupuncture. He was an incredible learner. And so he's trying to go, well, what's different about functional integration? Huh? And that's why when you put your hands on someone, someone said, oh, I don't know that I'm FI. The more you begin to scan all of yourself, that's what you're trying to learn in FI. As I move them, how much of them is in the picture? Because I could be moving their pelvis, and is it their pelvis that's stopping, or is it their knee and their foot that's getting in the way? And at the moment, you may not know, but you have to keep that big picture to go and put all of the bits in the equation. No? Which is what I was saying yesterday. You can be at the torso, something's not happened. Go to the limbs, go to the head. You're there, go somewhere else. No? Keep spreading your attention. Keep moving. Okay, so groups of 4 again. Different group today. Mm. Mm. And if we can't have 4s, we'll have a 6. No? But no 5s. Okay. So we didn't do this yesterday because we'd already done the lesson, the ATM lesson, before we went into rotation. So we're just going to go back a little bit to yesterday. So think about rotation. And that was specifically counter rotation, but we did, what are activities that it's a really important component of? Just brainstorm. What activities is rotation a really important? Doesn't mean other things aren't there, but you must have rotation. So just brainstorm. How many can you come up with? Mm. Mm. Mm.